Hi, it's Tom B of Old Tom's Wormery. Today is day 91. That's 13 weeks that this 2x2 CFT has been running, and that's 3 months and a bit. My target is 4 months to start harvesting, and the bin is getting too full. And that's a good thing, because that means that the worms have got plenty of food and bedding to work on, and I'm going to do the first quote-unquote harvest today. But really what today is breaking through the cardboard and paper on the bottom to get the flow started. The first cardboard and paper harvest that I do will just go right back into the top. And we'll see how it looks after that, and we'll see how soon I can start actually harvesting, keeping, and using the compost made, the vermicompost made. So anyways, as I do that, the tools are something to catch the harvest. Some bins like this, they use a tray of some kind. See the Hawassi machine, they have their trays built in. At Urban Worm Company, when they were running a CFT, they had a little tray on wheels to roll it in and out. The 2x2 and actually the 2x6 are actually small enough that it's easy just to throw a tarp under there, harvest under the tarp, and it's kind of easy access. To do the normal harvesting, I use a three-fingered, it's basically a small harvesting tool. There's a day for it, I'll probably put it in print above. This fits between the bars that are down there and pulls straight across. You never pull down. If you pull down, you might bend the pipes, so you always pull straight across. That causes the compost to drop, and you drop through about 1.5 inches or so. And given this 2x2 size, 26.5 by 26.5, I end up getting about 5 gallons of harvest. That's about 25 pounds, about a cubic foot, and that will become the regular harvest. Every week or two, you pull out the 5-gallon bucket of harvest. So this is the normal harvest tool, but today, since we're trying to break through the cardboard, and I noticed the cardboard hasn't gone completely soft last time I looked, I also have a one-fingered version. It's not used very often, just when there's troubles in the harvest. That way you can do the pull straight across with just one path. And also then, to get through there, just in case, there's always the trusty sharp knife, only used on the first breaking through the paper to get to the harvest. The bin itself, the normal feeding that I'm doing, as you recall on Friday, today being Monday, on Friday we stirred the entire bin. It had a little bit of food in it. We put a stripe of food down one side with the anticipation that would heat up, and I checked on Saturday, and sure enough, that little pile of food had warmed up just a little. The entire bed had warmed just a little, and I'll bet that by today the bed itself has cooled down. The stripe may be a little a little warm way down low, but it will also be cooling down, and the worms should be happy. So let's take a fast look at that, decide if I'm going to add any more food, most likely, or some more bedding, unlikely. Finish up the top so that I can start working on the bottom. All right, tilting the camera down. Okay, so like I say, this hasn't been open, so this will be exciting. We've got clearly a tray full of worms. You'll notice that they've wrapped themselves into the worm blanket. They do that so they can pull off cocoons. Let's see if I can do this without spilling too many around. We'll set them safely off to the side. So, worms crawling through. Because this area was full of food, it's also got worms in there, and you see the little babies are forming. There you go. These are the little guys of the ENC world. I'm bringing over some of the foody area. It's still very moist and foody, full of worms. So clearly there's still plenty of food, and the bedding looks like bedding rather than looking enough like compost. So I'm not going to add any fresh bedding today. I want these worms to work on this food and this bedding before I add more. If you can see, just barely off camera, there is just slightly less than 8-inch gap between the top of the bed and the top of the bin. So I'm going to let it go at that. If I were to add another 4 inches, it would start to get crowded. So for now, I'm just going to toss this, then I'll line up the camera and we'll have a look at the bottom. Remember I said that it's probably a little warm? I was wrong. It feels cool to the touch. And so all the food is working its way in without causing the hot compost problem. But it's a good feeling. It's a little heavy, which means it's a little wet. That's caused by, I always feed with wet food. As I get into production later, instead of always adding wet food, fruit pulp and such, sometimes I'll add just worm chow, which is a dry grain mixed with typically oyster shell, maybe some grit, but that adds food value without adding a bunch of water. But this is how I'm going to leave the bed today. On Friday, I will certainly have to add some bedding, and then while I'm at it, I'll add more food. It will keep multiplying worms. I look forward to the day when I open this up and it's a writhing mass. That writhing mass will be really the target that we're after because it eats its food so quickly and turns it into vermicompost so quickly that it's always complete when it goes to the bottom. So I'll cover it back up with a blanket and I'll see you down below. All right, it's getting a little late in the day. I better get to this before I lose my light. Down below you'll see I've got a flashlight set up. I might give you a little flicker because the LED lights will live with it. This is my 2x2 CFT. You see it's redwood base. That is decking redwood, so it lasts forever. Please don't use big box store wood if you can help it. That's not quality wood. I go to a special store to get the decking wood. Perhaps someday I'll work up a kit that you could buy. Also, the plywood is exterior grade, waterproofed with pond liner, and that way the exterior grade plywood never gets wet and doesn't rot. So as we come down, we see that the legs are also that redwood, and also those legs are standing on the wheel kit. Normally, I would just have a brick underneath there. The point of that brick foot is to keep the leg dry, and by keeping the redwood dry, this thing should last the 15 years I hope to get my production. Down below, I've got the tarp spread underneath. I find tarps are very convenient because they're flexible and they don't get in my way. I just go down to the Goodwill or any thrift store and buy either shower curtains or regular curtains, anything that has a good strong fabric. Typically, in my case, I like a polyester fabric because it won't rot if it gets a little wet. So you can see the cardboard under there. As I poke the cardboard, I'm finding I can find soft spots in there. What's funny is if you let this go for a long while, these strips hang down like that, and it looks like the bin is trying to grow itself. Today, though, the cardboard hasn't rotted at all, and so I will be breaking through it with this first harvest. It will look really ragged, and all that stuff will go back in the top. I'll probably pull a little bit here and then edit out the rest of it. What I'm seeing as I reach up in there and pull a little out is I'm seeing it still looks kind of unfinished, and that was expected. We expect that because we did not have very many worms in the bed. So I will be interested to see how long I have to go before I start seeing what looks like really good vermicompost. This wet bedding type of compost that I'm getting now, it's kind of funny in that it's not the beautiful stuff that we normally expect. Luckily, it's still all full of the microbiology. So if I had to, I would still use this stuff, but it's not what we're after. So anyways, let's pull down a stripe or two and let's see what we get. I'm going to try first with the Dingpa. That's the three-fingered cultivation tool. And I expect to find that it won't pull through this cardboard easily, and I'll have to go with the one-fingered. Yeah, it's a little too difficult. Let's do the one-fingered. And so you see that we pull straight across. We don't pull down. We're not trying to pull the compost out. We're trying to break the surface tension so that it then falls on its own. And it stayed soft. I see that it's pretty wet. That's because I've been feeding it all that fruit and vegetable. I will be switching to the worm chow as a regular feeding part, food and veg included, but the worm chow will go in there, feed the worms, and not add quite so much water. So you can see it's not really a hard pull. And that's what it'll look like as I do each week's harvest. I built this such that I can reach all the way to the back and do the full harvest from one side, just kneeling here. Some of the larger machines that are built for manual harvest, they're so deep that you have to crawl underneath. I always warn people, if they make a deep, a wide bin like that, set it away from the wall so you can get at it from the other side. And that way you can harvest from both sides. You don't have to lay underneath and have this stuff fall on you. But that's the harvest. I'm going to do the rest of it. I'll attach a little words to this that says how much I got. And this we'll toss back in the top. This will be more or less my feeding for the day. And then I'll talk to you again on Friday. Bye now. All right, to follow up here, you can see that the cardboard is all pulled free. And as we look here, there is the harvest, such as it is, kind of raggedy, full of cardboard. That's going back into the top.